morning, everybody. You're listening to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show. The RepcoLite Home Improvement Show. I slurred that. I'm off to a bad start already. You're listening to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, sponsored by Benjamin Moore. And yeah, I'm off to a bad start because it's February, right? It's the shortest month of the whole stinking year in days, but it is the longest month to have to endure, for me. I thoroughly detest February. I can't think of anything good about it. And every time I say that, my daughter Tessa objects because it's her birthday month. Tessa, it's not you. It's not because of you that I hate February. I hate February because it's dark and cold and snowy. All those things, they're like crazy cozy and cool when Christmas is coming. I didn't mind it then. Or even when January was here, the snow's kind of new at that point. And I don't think I didn't hate it yet at that point. But now we've had it for a while and I'm done. Pretty much done with it. Taking the dogs out in the cold weather stinks. There are fun things to do. I get that. Plenty of fun things to do. But taking the dogs out, that stinks because it's on their timetable. They tell us when we're taking them out. We don't get to choose. They announce. And if we don't take them out, well, we all know how that goes. The car's always frozen solid. The windshield wipers, they've always got ice on them, ice clumps. Can't get them off because I can't reach them. Most people probably can just reach up and snap those off. For me, no, I need a reaching stick and a ladder, and I still can't reach them. It's a truck. I'm short. So I've got all of that to deal with. Thankfully, one thing in my favor, I'm lactose intolerant. If that wasn't the case, I'd spend all of my February evenings sitting on the couch with an ice cream container and a spoon. That's how I'd spend my nights. Managed to avoid ice cream because of the lactose intolerance. But Tessa, the February birthday girl, she loves to bake. And she's been cranking out one thing after another. Sometimes I wander into the kitchen. Maybe this happens to you too. I wander into the kitchen with good intentions. And then I find, baked goods. And before I know it, a half hour's gone by. I'm sitting on the floor with a bread pan, half full of banana bread now. I've got a butter knife and a vat of butter next to me. There's usually a pile of cookies nearby, and I'm surrounded by dogs who are looking at me like hungry wolves as I try to protect my snacks, from their greedy eyes. Now, some nights, if the house is silent, I am 100% convinced that I can hear, if I really listen, I can hear the fat growing, around my stomach. Kids say I'm nuts about that, but I don't know. Anyway, there you go. That's just a little bit of insight into the insanity that occurs in my brain when I've been shut in the house for a lengthy period of time. Now, I'm sure you probably don't feel exactly the same way, but maybe parts of that are familiar. What we're dealing with is seasonal affective disorder, or SAD, as I'll call it the rest of the show, most likely. This is going to be the saddest episode of the year, so just buckle up for that. Ba-dum-bum-ching. Anyway, SAD. I'm sure you've heard about it ad nauseum over the last week or two, but I'm going to just pile on. It's what everybody's talking about right now. It's a mood disorder. If you're completely living under a rock and you have no idea what SAD is, it's a mood disorder that kind of leaves you feeling blah and down during certain times of the year, most often during the fall or winter when daylight hours are shorter. Basically, it's the good old winter blues just relabeled. I'm dealing with it. I'm betting a number of you are as well. Maybe you don't have full-blown SAD where you're seriously down, but I'm betting most of us are feeling a little bit of a pinch around this time of year. And so, like I said, that's going to be the focus of the show this week. And we're going to talk about some of the ways out of these February doldrums, the winter blues, ways to stop being sad. That's the whole point today. So all of that's coming up. But let's start with a deeper look at SAD, seasonal affective disorder, SAD. And honestly, I was kind of surprised to find that the concept goes back to ancient times. Hippocrates, an ancient Greek physician who's often referred to as the father of medicine, the Hippocratic Oath, right? Hippocrates noticed how the seasons affected mental health. He was probably sitting around, eating ice cream on the couch one February, and he thought, man, wait a minute. This isn't normal. This isn't me. I'm grumpy. Normally I'm the life of the party. I'm Hippocrates. Everybody wants to hang around with me. Why am I down in the dumps? I bet it's got something to do with the seasons. I'm pretty sure something like that happened. He came up with the idea. 4th century BC. In the 2nd century BC, Greco-Roman physicians treated depression and lethargy by directing sunlight toward the eyes. And that was an early form of light therapy. Additionally, the Greek philosopher Posidonius, I have no idea if that's right. Who cares? He's been dead for a long time. It's close enough. Posidonius observed that there's melancholy occurring in autumn, and there's mania in the summer. That explains my entire life. Melancholy in the autumn and winter, and mania the rest of the time. But still, even with all of those early observations, it wasn't until 1984 that the term seasonal affective disorder, SAD, was formally introduced by psychiatrist Norman E. Rosenthal and his colleagues at the National Institute of Mental Health. They describe SAD as a syndrome characterized by recurrent depressions occurring annually at the same time each year. All right, so that's SAD. SAD affects a significant portion of the population, and of course, it gets worse and more widespread depending on your location. Makes perfect sense. In the United States, the national average of people affected by SAD, what do you think that is? National average of people affected by SAD in the U.S., what percentage? Give you a second to think about it. It's 6%. 6% of the people nationally, on average, are affected by SAD. So that's not really that bad, right? 94% of us are unaffected or only mildly affected. So that's pretty good. Our chances are good. But hold on. That's the U.S. average. We live in Michigan. And while Michigan is absolutely a splendid place to live most of the time, it turns out that according to research from Michigan State University, between 20 and 40% of Michigan residents experience SAD symptoms during the winter months. So that's a huge bump over the national average. But really, it shouldn't surprise us. Our geographical location results in shorter daylight hours and prolonged periods of overcast skies during the winter. So obviously, we're going to see an uptick in SAD cases in Michigan. On top of all of that info, one last thing to throw at you. Women are more likely to be affected than men. So Michigan women, look out. And by saying that, Michigan men, you be on your guard as well, because things could get dicey. Just be careful out there. All right, so that's SAD and a tiny portion of the history behind it. The common symptoms, they're no surprise to us. In fact, this list pretty much reads like a journal entry for me. Symptoms are persistent low mood, loss of interest in activities once enjoyed, low energy and fatigue, changes in sleep patterns such as oversleeping, changes in appetite, normally changes in the positive direction, meaning I want more food, I want more carbs. Difficulty concentrating. I have no idea what I was even talking about. See, it's happening right now. Feelings of hopelessness or worthlessness. We should just pull the plug on the show. There's no point anymore. I don't have it anymore. That's SAD. That's all of what's going on. Now, when it comes to treating SAD, there's a lot of different options, including light therapy. There's cognitive behavioral therapy, medication, all kinds of different things. But today, what I want to focus on and talk about are some things that you can try without medicating. I mean, really, some simple things that you can do today that might help you a lot if you're feeling bummed out by winter at this point. And the first thing that I want to highlight is the importance of maximizing the natural light that you're getting. Natural light helps alleviate SAD because it directly influences several biological and psychological processes that regulate mood, sleep, and energy levels. And really, to me, that all sounds like mush. So let's break it down. It's really pretty fascinating when you dig into it and you see how our bodies are designed to work. Anyway, first, natural light helps regulate circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms sounds like an Enya song, but here's the scoop. Our bodies have an internal clock or circadian rhythm, and that regulates our sleep cycles. It regulates hormone release. It regulates other bodily functions. You picking up what I'm putting down? Grandma always reverted to coleslaw as the solution for that. Maybe she just needed more natural light. Who knows? Anyway, circadian rhythms regulate a lot of things, and natural light is the primary cue that keeps this rhythm synchronized. In winter, shorter days and reduced sunlight disrupt circadian rhythms, and that leads to fatigue and mood swings, difficulty concentrating, on and on and on. Exposure to natural light, especially in the morning, helps reset that circadian clock, and then it realigns us, with the day-night cycle, and it improves our overall mood and energy. So all good stuff. All right, that's just one thing natural light does. There are tons more. For example, it also stimulates the brain's production of serotonin, which is a neurotransmitter that plays a key role in regulating our moods. Low serotonin levels are linked to depression, anxiety, lethargy, all of that. Sunlight exposure, particularly through the eyes, activates areas of the brain that control serotonin production, and then we feel a little bit happier. So that's all good. Third, it reduces overproduction of melatonin. Now, melatonin is a hormone that helps regulate sleep. It's naturally produced when it's dark, signaling the body to prepare for rest. In winter, longer nights and reduced daylight cause an overproduction of melatonin, and all we want to do is rest and sleep. Exposure to natural light during the day suppresses this melatonin production, and it helps us feel more awake, more energized. Fourth and finally, sunlight triggers the skin to produce vitamin D, which is essential for all kinds of things. We know how good that is. So sunlight helps. But how often do we get that in Michigan? Well, there's good news that I kind of found surprising. It turns out that while sunlight, of course, really is absolutely the ideal here when dealing with SAD, even being outside on a gray, cloudy day can be profoundly helpful. So you don't have to wait for that one sunny day every other week, to get out there and get some benefit from this. Get outside today, even if it's gray. And last thing I'll say in this segment, if the outdoor exposure isn't feasible for you, you just can't get outside, not going to happen, try to increase your natural light indoors by opening blinds, sitting near windows, stuff like that. That alone, even those things can help improve your mood a little bit. So try those things. All right, that's the beginning of our Super SAD episode. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to look at the power of paint to help influence your mood and cheer up your home. That's all next. Stick around. And we're back. You're listening to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, sponsored by Benjamin Moore, and we're working our way through the saddest episode of the year. It's our deep dive into SAD, seasonal affective disorder. And yeah, pretty much every week on the show, the way I roll is I tend to try to want to solve my problems, the problems that I'm encountering at home and in life. And I want to do them on work time. It just really, really works well for me to do that. This week's no different. I generally love winter, but this part of it right now, February especially, it starts to hit me. A little bit. I get a little grumpy, a little bit sad, a little slumpy, and all I want to do is eat stuff. I know that's a common experience, and as we saw last segment, up to 40% of Michiganders suffer to some degree or another from the winter blues. Now, last segment, we talked about what it is, what SAD is, the history behind it. We also talked about how natural lighting is incredibly effective at helping us feel better in the long, dark month of February that's now looming in front of us. All right, that's what we talked about last segment. Now let's look at another tool at our disposal when it comes to fighting SAD, paint. And of course, it sounds self-serving, but it's actually just good community service, that I'm dishing out here. I'm endlessly selfless and giving. Those are truly my biggest character flaws. I just care and I love too much. It's how I am. And I want everybody out there to just realize that paint is the answer to pretty much most of life's dilemmas. So just remember that. Paint heals all wounds. In fact, you probably, I'm not bossing you, but it probably wouldn't hurt if you would repeat that phrase to yourself, 40, 50 times an hour, throughout the day. Paint from RepcoLite heals all wounds. Just kind of chant it to yourself. It's not weird. You don't even need to question it. It's not a cult. Nothing to worry about. It's just good mental health. So think about it. You do you. Anyway, it's mostly a joke. But paint and color really do play a vital role in influencing our emotions. Colors, for example, hold remarkable power over our emotions. And the right hues can really counteract the downer moods that we feel, around this time of year. And we talk about it all the time on the show. And I know for a fact that some of you are nodding your heads and you're completely, in agreement with what I'm talking about here. Others are thinking that this whole thing's a little silly. It's color psychology and you think it's a little nuts. And I get it. That's usually my knee-jerk response to stuff like that as well. Normally that's how I roll. It feels foo-foo. It feels weird. But in this case, it's, really true. Businesses, marketing experts, designers, all of them, and more take advantage of color psychology all the time in products, in packaging, in color schemes, in advertisements. Colors have an impact on us, a huge impact on our behaviors and our moods, even though we don't always clue in to what's happening. It's a thing. So take advantage of it and use it in your home and in your space to help create the mood and atmosphere that you want. For example, warm colors like yellow, orange, and light red, they radiate energy and happiness. You just feel pumped. You're in a good mood when you're surrounded by those colors. It just works for you. It's like when you eat potatoes. At least at my house. We can all sit down at the table in a grumpy mood, but if we have potatoes of any kind, boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew, any kind of potato, whenever we eat that, there's just something magical, that happens in me and in the children. And everybody becomes pleasant and strangely jovial afterwards. Allow me to clear the dishes for you, Father, whilst you draw your bath. It happens. I don't know why. They should serve potatoes every time world leaders gather to discuss peace. Potatoes. They're a healing root. I don't know what exactly. They're a root. Anyway, warmer hues are like potatoes. Let's get back to that. They bring the happy and the energy. Picture a soft, buttery yellow on your walls. It doesn't have to be a bright, crazy yellow. Just a warm, soft yellow. It gives the vibe of sunshine. The room feels happy no matter what's going on outside. It's like you painted, some sunshine on your walls, and even the most extreme Michigan weather can't take that away. Right? It can't steal that from you. It's yours. You've got it. These warmer tones are particularly effective in shared spaces like kitchens, living rooms, maybe dining rooms even, places where vibrancy and cheer and energy are usually what you're going for. All right. On the other hand, cool colors such as light blues, soft greens, and lavenders, they provide a sense of calm and relaxation that helps ease anxiety and stress. Blues, for example, they're considered almost universally calming because we associate them with the sky and with water. So a pale blue bedroom can help promote tranquility and restful sleep. An escape from the ironically named winter blues. Soft greens, lavenders, they do the same kind of thing. They bring calm and peace. And one of the reasons they do it is because they're linked permanently in our minds to spring, plants and trees coming to life, flowers blooming. Try it. Picture a muted lavender color and green in your mind. And chances are you feel kind of a spring vibe happening right up there in your noggin right now. And there's just no way that a spring vibe in your brain is going to play out in a negative manner this time of year. It's an infusion of hope. That's color psychology. And there's way more to it, but we've only got so much time. Just remember how it works and how it plays out when it comes to choosing your paint colors. But also, one other thing to remember here is that a specific color on a wall can literally help you brighten up a space. Not just impact you psychologically, but literally help you brighten up a space. Lighter tones, off-whites, pastels, light neutrals, all of those can reflect natural light, making rooms feel, more open, more expansive, more inviting. Pairing a warm white on the walls with light-colored furniture, all of that works really well to create an airy, fresh environment that kind of feels spacious and full of possibility, even when the days are short and gray. All right? Sounds like me. Short and gray. I'm getting older after all. Anyway, the power of paint to help lift moods. I told you it was a real thing. Whether it's through color and atmosphere or whether it's just helping you brighten up a dim space, paint can help you lift the mood a little bit. So keep that in mind. But what if you don't want to paint an entire room or large sections of your home? What if that's just not in the budget right now? What if you don't have time to do that? Well, let's take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about some small projects that will help you infuse a little happy and warmth into your home without breaking the bank or taking days to accomplish. That's all next. Stick around. Well, winter can be a lot of fun. I feel a little bit bad. I've been kind of trashing winter in the last little bit here, but winter can be fun. I want to try to redeem it a little bit and maybe redeem myself. You're listening to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, sponsored by Benjamin Moore. And yeah, winter can be fun. Hiking, sledding, skiing, all of that's fun. Just resting with a book, maybe a cup of coffee, a mug of coffee, some tea. Maybe just resting with an entire plate of cookies while you stream the Lord of the Rings movies back to back to back and then start them over again. Winter can be great, but it can also be a little bit rough, right? A little bit rough. That's not news to anybody. I'm not going too far there. The days are shorter, the skies are often gray, and for tons of us, it kind of just feels like the energy has been sucked out of our soul. But what if there was a way to brighten things up, literally and figuratively, to suck that energy back into our soul somehow? That's what we're talking about in the next couple segments. Small creative projects that can help you combat, seasonal affective disorder or SAD and kind of suck some of that energy back into your soul. These projects are meant to be quick, inexpensive, and perfect ways to bring vibrant, uplifting colors into your home. I know right off the bat that they're not going to be for everybody out there. Not every single one of these is going to be, a winner in your book. But I am thinking that everybody's going to find one or two that might spark your interest. And use these projects as jumping off points, right? Don't just consider them complete solutions and, what I just said, what Dan just said is no good. I don't care about that. Take the concepts or the ideas in each project and see if you can apply it to a space or situation in your home where it could work. Get creative. And that's truly half of the medicine here is getting creative. All right, my first recommendation is to paint the inside of your closet. And there's just something cool about this project that makes it worth considering, even though I know it probably sounds dumb, right? Paint the inside of your closet. Why in the world would you do that? The color's mostly hidden. It's completely counterintuitive. I mean, most of the time the door is shut. You never see it. What's the point? Well, the point is that because the color's hidden most of the time, you're free to experiment with colors that you might normally not want to try, throughout the rest of your home. So you can go bold and you can pick something that makes you happy regardless of how it plays out in the rest of the room. Something that might give you energy in the morning. And then every time you open that closet door, you get this quick burst of that color, setting the tone for your day. It's like the color therapy thing every morning. And then you just close the door. And then your room goes back to its usual look. It's a great way to try something new without worrying about how it's going to blend with everything else in your space. I like it for that reason. The second reason I like it and think it's such a great project is because it's personal. It's yours. It's really personal. It's your closet. It's not something that your guests or even most of your family members probably see. It's just for you. And why is that a big deal? Again, maybe that sounds kind of dumb, but you can think of it as kind of something, extravagant that you did just for yourself. And I know how ridiculous maybe that sounds, but we had a designer on the show last year or the year before. I can't remember. I'm getting older and everything bleeds together. We had this designer on the show who went all out and wallpapered the inside of her closet. And she loved how every single time she opened the door, she'd see this little unexpected touch of design. She said it was like adding a layer of thoughtfulness to a space that's usually just practical and boring and plain. She said it made her feel good about the whole room because even these overlooked little spaces were getting some love. So think about that. I don't know if that's right for you, but it is an interesting concept, especially when we talked about how the early part of your day, getting that energy right off the bat, right at the beginning in the morning is helpful. What's better than the sun, the face of the sun in your closets when you open the door, it just beams out on you and gives you third-degree burns. Now, we don't want that. That's extreme and exaggerated, but you get the idea. All right, painting the interior side of your entry door. That's another fun way to add a pop of color and boost the visual interest of your space. And I know, like the other one, this isn't something that works for every home. Some spaces are just already busy. They got a lot going on. Adding another color to the door might seem like overkill. It might drive you nuts. So maybe this one isn't for you. But if your entryway could use a little personality, this is a really quick, high-impact project to try. And one of the nice things about painting an interior door is that you can have some fun with it, right? You're not committing to a whole room, so you can go bold. You can experiment with colors that energize the space. Maybe a soft green for a sense of calm, a pale yellow, a touch of warmth, something like that. Something unexpected, an aqua, a bold coral color. Who knows? I don't know. You know your space. Color psychology can guide you here. Just pick a tone that'll help set the mood for your space, and you can brighten things up every time you walk through the door. That's pretty cool. Another great thing about the project is that it's low commitment. You only need a quart of paint to do this. And an afternoon's worth of time to get it done. And if you decide a few months down the road that this is not quite the vibe you were going for, it's a relatively easy fix. It's just a few more hours, a little more paint, Just grab a different color and change it up. It's a simple way to keep your space feeling fresh and inviting without a lot of hassle, not a lot of work there. And while you're considering paint colors, don't forget to dig into the different finishes or sheens that are also available. Sometimes we forget about those as we're looking at colors, but sheen, how shiny a finish is, can really make a big difference with how a color is perceived. A shinier finish on the door than you typically might use can really have a huge impact, from a design point of view. So keep that in mind. Don't forget, it's not just about color. The finish can also play in. All right, here's a third idea, and this one's really weird. I mean, if you thought the other two were weird, buckle up, because this one's really nuts. If painting an entire door just isn't your thing, you don't want to do that, You don't have a door, that's possible too, where a bold new color might make sense. What if you just paint the edge of a door? It's an oddball idea. I get that. But it can add a surprising little detail, to your space without completely changing the look of the room. Here's what I'm getting at. You just paint the inside or outside edge of your door. So when the door is closed, it looks like any other door. I know, it's weird, but just picture it. When you open it, you get this unexpected hint of color. It's a subtle accent. It's way out of the ordinary, and it's in an incredibly unusual spot, so it's got a lot going for it. It'll make a big impact, even though there's not much of it there. I know it's not for everybody. I don't have a door, I don't think, where I could use this effectively. I'm thinking very quickly here. It's not my strong suit. Nothing's coming to mind. I can't picture a door in my home where I could do this and have, good results. But maybe you do and could give it a try. When it's done right, it can be really cool. And it's a creative way to add a little personality, a little extra personality to your home. Now, the best part, it's super quick. It's inexpensive, crazy low commitment. If you don't love it, you can always repaint it, and return it to normal or go another direction very, very easily, very, very quickly. But when it does work, it's a great way to add, just a little extra happy to your home without spending hardly any time or money on it. And this is one of those projects that I talked about earlier, I alluded to earlier, where I said grab the idea of it and be creative and make it your own. This idea here is using an unexpected color in tiny proportions in an unexpected place. That's the core concept here. If this particular project, putting it, on the edge of the door like I talked about, if that's not cool with you at all, I mean, you're ready to throw the radio out the window. Just put the radio down. Just take that concept and apply it to something else in your home, some other place where you could apply that exact same concept. All right, let's take a break, and when we come back, I've got a few more simple projects to tackle before we wrap things up for the week. Stick around. And we're back. You're listening to the RepcoLite Home Improvement Show, sponsored by Benjamin Moore, and we're working our way through an episode devoted entirely to the winter blues, to seasonal affective disorder, to SAD. It's been a sad episode, the saddest episode of all time. I could go on forever. You get it. Last segment, I started talking about some projects that you can tackle that might help you bring some color into your space, kind of bump your mood up a little bit, make you feel a little better. And I got through, I think, 3 of them, something like that. I've got a lot more, so let's just keep going right where I left off. How about this one? Color block a wall. What I'm talking about is you basically take 2 or 3 complementary colors and you use them to create a geometric or abstract design on your wall. It's a bold choice, but it can instantly energize a space and make it visually stimulating, which is perfect for areas where you want to add a little creativity and fun. And the beauty of this project, like a lot of these other ones, is its versatility. You can go as simple or as intricate as you really want in this instance. Maybe it's a series of triangles or rectangles in complementary colors, or maybe you lean into some abstract free-flowing pattern. And the best part of all of this is it's really personal. It's really creative. You get to design something unique to your space that reflects your own style. On top of that, it doesn't need to take over an entire room. A single accent wall or even just a small section of a wall can make a huge impact without, feeling overwhelming. And like a lot of the other projects that we talked about, it's low commitment for the most part. If you tire of the design or you decide to try something new down the road, it's really pretty simple to do a quick sanding and paint over the whole thing. But for now, it can be a great way to infuse your space with energy, creativity, and a little extra happy, which I think we all want. That little extra happy, especially since we're heading into February, the unhappiest month on the calendar. If you're going to go this route, 1.5-inch frog tape is on sale all month long at RepcoLite. And frog tape, if you haven't used it before, it's chemically formulated to give you a razor-sharp edge when you make your designs and paint up to it. It's over $4 off per roll, so check that out. All right, if you've got stairs in your home, here's a fun and unique project to consider. What about painting the risers? It's a simple way to turn a functional part of your home, something you don't even really pay attention to turn that into this, kind of cheerful focal point that adds personality and energy and pizzazz, which is a wonderful word. It's very fun to say. I recommend it. Everybody say it. Pizzazz, adding pizzazz to your space. The idea is, ridiculously straightforward. You choose, a series of colors that either flow, seamlessly from one to the next, kind of like a gradient. You could do that. A lot of different colors working their way up. It takes a little more thought there to pull that one off, but it can look really cool. Or you can just go with a single color on each one, the same color on each stair. That's still really cool. What's great about this project is that it works in all kinds of staircases. If you've got an enclosed staircase in need of a refresh, it works. If you've got a more open design where the risers are already on display, it can work in that space. And because you're only painting the risers, not the treads, not the walls or anything, it's manageable. It's low cost, hardly takes you any time at all to complete, and yet it's got this really cool payoff at the end. All right, so there's another idea. Another fantastic way to add a pop of color to your home. One of my favorites is by painting, just a small piece of furniture. Think of that old desk or table or whatever it is, collecting dust in your attic. Maybe it's something you picked up at a thrift store with a little bit of potential. It's a fun project that can completely transform a piece into a statement piece while adding personality to the space, to your home. The great thing about this, one of the great things about this, is that you don't need, to paint the whole piece to make an impact. Sometimes painting just the drawer fronts or the top in bold or cheerful colors while leaving the rest of it wood stained or natural. By just painting those pieces, you can create this really striking contrast that can feel really fresh and modern in the space, even if the piece, is quite old or antique or whatever. It's got a really cool vibe. You're bridging multiple periods by bringing in modern colors with an older piece. A lot's going on. A sunny yellow desktop paired with rich wood tones or teal drawer fronts on a walnut dresser. All of those things can add just the right amount of vibrancy without overpowering the room. And the project is perfect for experimenting with color because it's on such a small scale, and it's low commitment again. If you love the result, great. If you don't, you can always repaint it or try something different down the road. It's also budget friendly. It's going to require just a small amount of paint and a little bit of time. It's ideal for a weekend project. And yet again, the payoff is so huge. You're going to be posting pictures of this thing all over social media because it's just got that cool of a look going. So think about that. Look into that. And if you don't have that piece of furniture to paint right now, just sitting, waiting, ready to go, well, you can add to the fun of the whole process, the journey of it, the adventure of it, by heading out to various thrift stores, antique stores, whatever. Go on the search to find the piece that you can bring in, and who knows what you can do with it. Get creative. All right, so that's another idea. Another simple project with a huge impact is to brighten up shelving or open cabinets by painting the back panels. Right? We talk about this a lot. I'm sure you've seen it everywhere. It's a quick way to add vibrancy to your space while also making your decor stand out. There's a lot of cool stuff going on, even though this is an older idea. I love it because you don't need to commit to painting an entire room or even a full piece of furniture. You're just focusing on the back panels of your shelves or your cabinets, those often overlooked spots, and then you're transforming them. It's super straightforward. The project works really well in kitchens, living rooms. Home offices can be really cool. Pretty much anywhere you've got shelving or open storage that could use, a little bit of personality. And because you're only painting this small area, it's an easy afternoon project that requires minimal paint again. In fact, most of these are probably a quart of paint, I would think at the most. I don't think, maybe the color blocking on the wall depends on how big you make your patterns, but most of these are really just a quart of paint and then a few hours worth of work. So very minimal buy-in, but a huge impact and payoff down the road. If you do it right and do it well, bring in the right colors, it's a good way to go. All right, one last paint idea. It's been around for ages. I still think it's kind of cool. I think it really could be especially cool in a kid's room, but paint the headboard directly onto the wall in the bedroom. It's quick, it's low cost. You don't need hardly any paint or time. Again, it's just a quart of paint, but the impact can be huge. And you've got this opportunity to be really creative and to stretch boundaries. You can go in any direction here, any color. It's a small area. A lot of fun you can have with this. And it's easy to change down the road if you do decide to update the decor or, go with a different look entirely. You've got no commitment there. Quick sanding and you're ready to go and repaint over it. So there are a bunch, 8 maybe, paint projects for you to think about. And if you're looking to refresh your space and brighten your mood, stop by your closest RepcoLite paints. We'll gladly help you choose colors that are tailored to exactly what you need for your home and your situation, but which will also help you achieve the atmosphere and the vibe that you're trying to achieve in your project. So definitely stop by, talk to us, bring pictures, whatever you've got that will help us envision your vision, and then we'll help you bring it to life. Now, maybe none of these little projects really speak to you. Maybe none of them have an appeal. Maybe you've got something bigger down the road that you really need to budget for. Well, if that's you, you can still use this time. Here's something you can do. Use this time to plan for that upcoming project. Now, I keep saying it, but it's not just about putting paint on a wall. That's not what's going to, that alone isn't what's going to help you break out of this winter blues thing. Part of it is just being mentally stimulated and challenged and doing something. Being active mentally and physically helps get us feeling better. It just naturally does it. So do the research that you need to do and do it right now for that upcoming project. Make your notes, make your supply lists. If you've got something to build, you can get a handle on what you need, what cuts you'll need to make. That's kind of fun to plan out, how you're going to get that done. You can price out your lumber, your supplies. Hopefully that will hold steady or maybe go down. We don't know yet. But you can price it out, kind of get an idea. You can work on a schedule, for when the project should start, all of those things. They need to be done at some point when you're tackling a project. And it's never much fun to do them, at least, personally speaking. It's never fun for me to do them when I'm literally ready to start the work. So now's a perfect time. If you can't jump into the project now, do that preliminary stuff. It's going to help you out by giving you something to focus energy on and brain power on, but it's also going to help you out when you've actually got to start the work and you've already accomplished it. You're not going to feel inclined to speed through it and kind of shortchange the planning because you just want to get to the work. You can spend your time on the planning now and do it right. And maybe that's not you. Maybe that's not how you roll and you would have done it right anyway. I am speaking to me there, and I always shortchange the planning. I would be much better off to do the planning now so that when I'm ready to go, I've done it. All right, there's lots more. Look around your house. There's all kinds of projects. You could start your spring cleaning early. You could start planning out your garden for the spring, figure out what you need to do and when to get those things moving. Lots of things you can tackle if painting isn't on your calendar. Now, whatever you're going to tackle, though, I'd love to know what it is. Let me know what you think you're going to do to get through the winter blues and to get through February. You can email me at radio@repcolite.com. Again, I'd love to hear what you're working on. All right, that's going to do it. If you want to catch this episode again, you can find it online at RepcoLite.com. Just click the On the Radio tab on the homepage. And also, if you love listening to YouTube podcasts, our show is there as well. Just search at RepcoLite Paints, and you can subscribe. And you can ring the little bell, and every time a new episode drops, you'll be among the first to know. You'll feel very elite. You'll feel very informed, so check that out. Finally, we're on all major podcast platforms as well. So Spotify, Apple Podcasts, you name it. Check us out. And if you like the show, please leave a 5-star review. That really helps us out. Okay, whatever you do today, make sure paint's a part of it. Have a great weekend, everybody, and I'll see you next week. I'm Dan Hansen. Thanks for listening.